If you don't know why flexibility and transparency are the two most important aspects of a sharp sports betting tool, then you need to watch this video and find out why. Welcome to Data Driven Sports Betting. I'm A-Train Bets and I use my brain to make bets. And in this video, I want to talk about why the transparency and flexibility of a sharp sports betting platform is so important to being a sharp sports bettor at all. So what I want to do is we're going to go and we're going to look at this one play. So what we're using here in the Houston Rockets and Washington Wizards, we're using the default weightings that we have at A-Train Station. And the default weightings are basically saying, what are the numbers that we associate with a particular sports book as it relates to all the other sports books on how good they are at setting odds that are reflective of truth. What we want to do with positive EV sports betting is we're looking at odds that we can play at the books we have accounts at compared to what truth is. What are the true odds of an event occurring? If we get better odds than the true odds of that event occurring, then we can make money long term because we have a positive expected value. That's literally where the name positive expected value comes from, right? So the key to all of this is understanding that this no vig odds or these fair odds come from those sharp sportsbook weightings. How do we determine which books are sharp? Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You could say, I'm going to look at just a couple sharp books. A lot of times I'll use just Pinnacle and BetOnline as my sharp book references. We'll actually look at that again here in a second. So some people will do that. Others will have a mysterious algorithm that will tell you all of the answers of the world. That's a stupid way. Don't do that, because then you don't know. You don't know. Like, so if you're betting, if you're calling yourself a sharp sports bettor and you don't know what makes up how you get to this line, then all you're doing is rocking off of a list. You're rocking from an auto technical tout instead of a person tout, because you don't know. You've outsourced your brain in that kind of calculation. And quite frankly, that means you're not a sharp sports bettor. If you are not understanding, if you're not told and shown how do you get to this line, then you do not have the control or the understanding of why this is a sharp sports bet. You can't just trust a mysterious algorithm to give you the no vig odds. It just isn't okay. Because look at this situation, right? Here's a play that on the surface doesn't look very good. 0.59% EV for Jock Landale. Awesome name, by the way. Jock Landale rebounds under 6.5 over here, DraftKings. We're like, nah, 0.59. There's no EV in that. But what if I go in here and I edit my book weightings, I clear these out, and I go and I put in, let's just look at Pinnacle and BetOnline. If I do that, and I'm going to just hit save there, now you're going to see all of a sudden Jock, our buddy Jock over here, is now a 3.85% positive EV to get under 6.5 at DraftKings. This is much better than we thought on the surface. And it's because look at what's happened here. We have Pinnacle and BetOnline, the two sharpest books in the market, are way over here. They've moved. And you can see BetOnline has actually moved from where the rest of the market was to now where Pinnacle is. Pinnacle set their lines here to start with. BetOnline has now said, okay, yeah, wait. What Pinnacle is, that's the right number. So we can see we're keying off of the two sharpest books in the market to get to 142.1. Instead, when I go back, 131.8. This is a huge difference. And that difference means that this EV percentage is much better on this play than we originally thought. But if we don't know how this line's being set, we got nothing. We can't do anything with that. So we need to be saying, how do we want to assess the market and get to this no vig odds? Or otherwise, we do not have insight into why this is a good play, because it's the same number here. It's the same number on both sides, minus 130 at DraftKings. But when we assess the market differently with different book weightings, then we have a totally different view of that market. And we say, okay, well now, because we have interpreted this data story that's coming from BetOnline's market movement and from Pinnacle's original odds, we have a much greater confidence in this. If you do not know how this odds is getting set, you don't know how you're betting. You don't know how you're analyzing anything. You don't even know what your own strategy is. Doesn't matter what your settings are. Doesn't matter if you go into a filter and a list of numbers of positive EV and you change these all around, but you don't know how this number gets set, then you don't have anything. You don't have a strategy. All you have is a subscription to somebody who's going to tout picks for you. That's the difference. Because in this world, we can change whatever we want. I can go in here, I can hit edit, and I can say, okay, you know what? Caesar's okay. Let's give them a 1. Let's give them a 1 and see what happens. Hopefully this line hasn't moved. No, it still looks pretty good. So if we give Caesar's credit, now this line moves back closer to that 132. Well, that makes sense because they're right with the rest of the market. So when I'm editing these book weightings in the moment, it's because I'm looking at that data story. Now, and this was just an example. I'm going to remove that. We're going to hit save. And this is updating with the latest odds and everything behind the scenes too. So if you see any changes, that's what's going on. But if I can look at what the market is telling me, and we have these visuals, we have the ability to look at different lines, we have the ability to see where the EV is based on where this line, we look at all the holds and widths, you can do all of this stuff. You don't have to use all of it. You can build into it. And sometimes it's more helpful than other times, but it's there. At least it's there. At least you can say, I'm interested in this. And you approach it with a curious mindset. Now you have the ability to explore, to use the context surrounding the data. A list of odds numbers is just data, but context around it, what tells you, hey, wait, there's a pattern here. I need to look at this deeper. I need to back away from this. This is a fake. This is a head fake. You can start to see these things as you start to look at these diagrams and start to react to them, understand what's really happening in this market, and you think about it. That's what being a sharp sports bettor is all about. Doing it quickly, making the plays, absolutely. But you need to be able to see what's happening here. What is the story that these numbers and this visual is trying to tell me, right? What other context can I get? You see my bookie sitting down here, and they followed the same pattern that BetOnline did. They're only offering a one-sided line because they're cowards and they don't want to take the favorite side. But you can learn from that piece too. It's like, oh yeah, we see these bottom feeders following along with whatever BetOnline and Pinnacle are doing. You would start to understand that story. But if you don't have this, if you don't have something like this, you don't have to have A-Train Station, but you need to have something that's transparent and flexible, because otherwise you're just trying to do something that isn't appropriate for what your actual intentions are. Because if you don't have a flexible tool, it's just fragile. It's just going to shatter. As soon as new information comes in, you're just going to shatter. You're just going to miss the information entirely. And that's no way to bet. That's no way to create a strategy, because it's based on a flimsy foundation. The foundation, the flexibility, your ability to adjust to what the data is telling you. That is everything in sharp sports betting. Right? You have to be able to react. You have to be able to look at it in different ways. And you have to be able to say, okay, now with this kind of view into a market, I have confidence I can go make a play. And so what do you do in this situation? You say, all right, well, I'm going to go play. This is based on my $22,000 bankroll and fairly conservative Kelly multiplier 15%. It's telling me I should try to go make this play at DraftKings. Well, there's added context to this that doesn't appear on this page, and that is DraftKings is going to limit me to like $50 on this anyway. So I would have looked at this for 10 seconds and made the decision where I would have gone and played at DraftKings. Okay, I'll take whatever they give me, because it'll be under $100. There's no way it'll be $100 at DraftKings for me. So that's it. Right? So that's the kind of thing that if you are betting, you want to be dialed in. You want to be able to say, okay, what is all the information available to me that can help me make this decision? And then once you get to that decision, then you go and take that action. And this is the kind of data-driven behavior that you're going to see everywhere. So you start doing this in sports betting. You do this in your hobby. You start to understand how you work with data, and you start to make better decisions and activities. This is what I've done in the corporate world for 25 years. In the corporate world, you're doing this with, maintenance on factory machinery. You're doing it with operations. You're doing it with point of sale. You're doing it with how do our customers buy? What was the activity that we have in these times of days and these times of weeks? There's so many things that you can use data for to then drive better activities in your business processes. Same thing in sports betting, but it's better in sports betting because it's so immediate. It's so pure because it's all data. It's all things just trying to present themselves to you to be able to analyze a market and say, okay, I've got to make this bet. And then the next day you can say, did I get closing line value? Did the bet win or lose? Do I have anything I can learn from this strategy? And you start to evolve even more. Those are the things that if you're a bettor that is betting, first and foremost, if you're betting anything without deep understanding of what the prices are, well, then you're not a sharp sports bettor. You're just bottom up and you're just having fun. Fine. That's okay. That's not a real lucrative hobby, most likely. Because even if you're really good at that, it may be breaking even or coming close to it, saying, I got a chance here. Well, if you're not getting the best prices, then you're not a power shopper, right? That's the thing. If you're not looking at the prices, you're not a power shopper. But if you're looking at the prices, you start to understand what the market tells you, and you're coupling that with that other information that you might use. That's the beauty of this game. The game of sports betting, not the game of the Houston Rockets and the Wizards, but the game of sports betting is where you can take the things you're most interested in, you're most curious about, and you start to put them together. You start to put them together and use a tool that's flexible, that can work with you on those things that you're good at and can help firm up some of those areas that you may not be as good at. Like I am not very good at remembering which players have been on a hot streak or what their normal, rebounds are or whatever it is. I want to be able to have that information at my fingertips. That's coming. We're going to have that kind of information in this tool because I need to reference that, right? What I am good at is knowing DraftKings is going to limit me to $50 or less on this play, right? So you can have what you are good at, what you and have in your mind can supplement what you see on the screen. But if you can interpret what's on the screen and what the data story of this is telling you to do, then you're really going to be powerful in your sharp sports betting, because now all of a sudden these are such small edges, right? A -3% and a +3% on an ongoing basis really compounds a lot. You're either going to lose a lot or you're going to win a lot based on a fairly small edge. And that is what you want to be focusing on, is how can I make that edge as big as possible? How can I protect my losses and maximize my wins, and do so quickly, because we know there's a numbers game. If you want to get to the long term, which is how these strategies really work out, is if you want to get to long term, you need to make a lot of bets. If you need to make a lot of bets, you need to do them quickly. If you need to do them quickly, then you need tools that present that information in a flexible and transparent way as quickly as possible. Those are the things that you should be thinking about. And while we would love to have you at A-Train Station, we know this isn't going to be for everybody. That's fine. This is pretty complex. This is the Rolls Royce of sharp sports betting platforms. We get that. It's going to be expensive. It's also going to be the most powerful tool you can get. There's other ways you can approach some of this. You can do some of it manually. And that's one of the things that when I'm coaching organizations in business context, I say, don't go spend $1 million on that data catalog solution, because you're not using it yet, right? You don't need it yet. You might need it at some point, but earn the tools you buy. Make it so that you feel it a little bit. Like, man, I could get so much more done with what I'm already trying to do if I had this tool. Now that's a tool you might want to get. Right? Those are the things that you want to think about. A-Train Station is that tool for sports betting. You can do some things manually. You can go check odds lists. You can go do all this stuff. You can get one of these cheap subscriptions to these odds services or whatever, but you're going to have to do a lot more work, a lot more manual stuff to get anywhere near the kind of insight you'd get from us. So do that. It's a lot cheaper that way. Start there. But then get to a point where when that frustrates you and you're like, I can do so much more if I had a better tool, now you've earned it. Now you're ready for that. And then you can come here and start changing everything about what you do. That is where you really can elevate your game. And with that, that's really the key to what we wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to show you how when you start looking at these plays, it's not enough to get one viewpoint. You need multiple different views. You need to react and be able to adjust and be able to change the weightings just for that one bet market. Just for that one. You want to be able to change those weightings and get a new perspective and be able to then react and put it into action, make that better decision, make that better activity, and make those more profits. And that is what's going to happen if you have the right strategy, the right approach, the right tools that are giving you the information you need to go and do your best job in being a sharp sports bettor. Because that's on you. You've got to be the sharp sports bettor. If you're just taking plays from whatever, machine, algorithm, AI, touts on the internet, whatever it is, some Discord channel, that's fine. But you're not taking this seriously as a sharp sports bettor. You're just trying to make some plays. Hey, there's a place for that. That's fine. But if you really want to beat the sports betting game and you want to be a player in that sports betting game, then you need to really understand what that takes, what that means, and why you need to do that analysis and have the right tools for the job. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you learned something with this. Hopefully we'll see you over at the station sometime soon. But for now, this train is leaving the station. Until next time, save the units for the pros and do your betting like this.